here we go with episode 10 of the Mike Spot Podcast. I'm Chris, senior producer and lead designer of 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Josh, quality assurance and associate designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Aaron, narrative designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
All right, guys, let's talk Eras of Wrestling first. I think that's what most people are tuning in to hear about. Now, Eras of Wrestling, of course, is our newest game that is set to release this year in 2025. And I know we're starting to get a lot of questions like, when is this game coming out? And what we can say is it's definitely going to be this year. And I can tell you that in game development, it is very hard to nail down specific dates. We're working hard. We're building new features. We're polishing things, bug testing, and it's very hard to predict an exact release date. Sometimes it's even hard to nail down an exact month, but we are looking good for this year for sure. So last episode, we teased a little bit when we were talking features that there is going to be something in Eras of Wrestling known as the player profile. So I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on that feature, give a little bit more detail there. So as you're playing Eras of Wrestling, one of the first things you're able to do is edit your player profile. That's what you probably would imagine, as a lot of other games have that kind of feature, right? So you can put your name, nickname, screen name, whatever it may be. You're going to have access to having some kind of thumbnail picture. And for now, it's going to be thumbnails of all the characters that are included in Eras. And you'll do different things to unlock these profile pictures, these thumbnails to use for your profile, right? So it'll be a fun little additional collection aspect of the game. Another way to customize your profile might be like a background banner. So it's just decorative stuff that you can imagine. There's going to be sort of a slideshow or a ticker of your champions. You know, one of the cooler parts of the profile exhibiting of whatever you've designed your profile to look like is that it's not just there for you yourself, it's there for other players to look at as well. You might ask, well, how? How does that happen? Well, we're going to have a whole other feature in Eras of Wrestling that right now I'm not going to get too much in depth on, but I can say there's going to be a leaderboard where you're going to have rankings from 1 down to however many players might be involved in the leaderboard. And what the leaderboard is going to do is essentially rank your player profile by the amount of, for now, let's just call it score. So we'll rank you by your score, by your player score. And then when, let's say I pick up the game and I go to my leaderboard in my game and I scroll through the leaderboard, I might be able to click on Josh's profile or Aaron's profile. And when I click on that, I'm going to be able to view however they set their profile up. Another thing you can set up for other players to view or for your own sake is you can select shows that you want to highlight on your profile. And you'll have full customization of this. Like you can go and change the shows, you can change your thumbnail, change your player name and whatnot. And as the game is launched and as the game, sticks around, we're going to add more unlockable things to the profile, things that you can collect and sort of show off. Another feature worth mentioning that's going to be attached to a player profile is the Hall of Fame feature. Now, we've been talking about doing the Hall of Fame in our existing games for a while, but Eras, of course, is an even better opportunity to do the Hall of Fame now because we're spanning a greater timeline. We're starting in this territory era that's supposed to represent, mid to late 70s, early 80s, going all the way to the Millennium era, which is obviously the early 2000s. There's a real sense as you go through Eras of Wrestling, if you were to play, a full timeline there, you're going to have a real sense, in my opinion, of kind of like a history. And what's even cooler, going back to the profiles for a minute, is if I'm viewing your profile, I can click on your Hall of Fame and kind of, walk through the virtual halls of your Hall of Fame. So talking about the profiles for now unlocks some other things to discuss in future episodes, like this kind of PvP element of the leaderboard.
Absolutely. We already have the player profiles built into the game right now, and we're just kind of finalizing it. And it's a really cool feature on my end. It looks great, plays great, and I think it'll be a really, really interesting thing to look at whenever you're browsing the player feds. And it's more than just the TV production now. It's more like, you'll be fighting with the people on Facebook and Discord. It's kind of a cool little thing.
Yeah, being able to hop into someone else's gameplay, like hop into someone else's world, I think is really neat.
Absolutely.
And there's more time to talk about this as it develops. We got to talk about how the leaderboard is going to be scored. What happens when you're in 5th place versus what happens when you're in 100th place, because this leaderboard will pay out. So there is some competitive aspect to it. There's bragging rights, but there's also a way to accumulate premium currency through the leaderboard aspect. So it's going to be, like I said, a step in a whole new elevated direction for the game in general. So
Definitely.
I think that's it for now on the errors front. We'll take a short little break, and when we come back, we'll start talking about the updates. We'll start with 80s Mania.
Fantastic.
Introducing the most powerful force in the wrestling world. New WCW NWO Grip and Flip wrestlers. The incredible mega grip action lets your favorite wrestlers body slam, just like the big boys. Hogan and Goldberg show their might as they flip and fight. Watch as the Grip and Flip in power lets Chris Jericho lock up with Dean Malenko. Plus, each pair comes with something special for extra gripping and flipping. Now you control the force and all the fist-to-fist fury with Grip and Flip wrestlers. New WCW Grip and Flip wrestlers come 2 to a pack. You'll flip for it.
And we're back. Let's jump right into some 80s Mania. I know that a lot has happened since our last pod. So, Aaron, why don't you take it away and talk about the new releases?
All right, we got a couple of particularly exciting ones. First off, we had the debut of Etéreo.
Te atormentaré por la eternidad.
Who we did kind of an unusual thing with, in that we sort of teased his arrival before he arrived in a way that we haven't before. So, previous to his debut, El Manto Blanco showed up in 80s Mania, and if you read the announcement of his debut, you saw a kind of note saying that he had a rival, or maybe a ghost from his past, or some such, that was going to be following him soon. And that turned out to be Etéreo, our ghoulie man in green. What we wanted to do here was really give a little love to the lucha side of things by creating something that hopefully feels like it really has gone on forever, like been a foundational lucha feud in this world. And even the name of the feud between those two is called Lucha Eterna. So let's just say they've been battling for quite some time, even though they're new characters in the game. So Etéreo was a lot of fun. We also got a nice little bonus for Skella Scream out of that, a character who has been around for a very long time, and a couple of nasty Rudos. You gotta have a good bad guy lucha team.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was kind of overdue. So we're always looking to create balance and to touch on things that haven't really been brought to the forefront of the game. So very excited about them. Super cool designs. I was really excited to see them. They're very simple, but in a way that perfectly works for what I think those characters are supposed to be. And they both feel like fairly big deals, in my opinion, like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you guys are having a lot of fun playing with Etéreo and El Manto Blanco. And then we had March Mania. So if you're not familiar with March Mania, which you probably are if you're listening to this, it's been a fixture in this world for a very long time, in 80s and then into modern, and now with eras on the horizon, we decided that it was time for 80s and modern to face off. So we had the first ever March Mania crossover tournament. That tournament was won by Lazer, who we'll get back to in just a minute here. But on the 80s side of things, that win led to the debut of a character, frankly, we've been hoping to bring into the game for some time, and I know players have been clamoring for, even to the point where I think they kind of figured out what the most logical evolution of an existing character would be, and that is one CC Sleaze.
Sleaze! I call him the worst kept secret in new character history.
He really was. And you know, because Dizzy and Caesar, they were a team in the 80s. Dizzy went on to do his own thing a long time ago, and Caesar kind of got left behind, but hopefully that was all worth the wait, because CC is here. He comes in bringing some heat. The guy enters the game with 3 feuds and a team that I was quite proud of the name for, because when you have CC Sleaze and Fireball, why don't you just call them Sleazeballs? That was one of those easy slam dunks that we didn't have to even think about hardly. But this is a character we have talked about putting in this game forever.
I'll tell you, even that art even is a couple years old, to be honest with you. That is not, our current artist is Rusty Shackles for 80s Mania, and that was a previous artist who still works with us, by the way, on many things, Werner Muck. But that CC Sleaze piece was by Werner a few years ago, Werner being the artist of the original Caesar Sleaze as well. So we just happened to be sitting on that one, and when the time finally came to get it done, it was there, just ready to roll. So
I have to imagine that players are really having fun rolling CC out there, and just that jump from his previous level towards the top of the card, very fun. And the thing, we don't get to do that often. So there's a lot of cool aspects about this character.
Yeah.
And we were super excited to finally, because we wanted him in the game just as much as you guys did, but the timing has to be right for some of these things. So
yeah. It feels right. I made the comment, I think, in the internal Discord group that we've got, that isn't it cool that Caesar's been around for something like, if you go back to the original 80s Mania, Caesar's been around for something like 10 years at, like Aaron mentioned, at this sort of very low level opener, range of stats, but everyone's used them. Everyone's played with them. Everyone's kind of got a personal history with this character because he's been around so long. Mm-hmm. And like you said, based on the inspiration for him to sort of suddenly later in his career, if you will, be elevated and widely accepted and widely popular, it was a very cool, everything was in sync with this guy, you know what I mean? So it's one of those updates I'm pretty proud of and happy of the way it finally turned out.
Same. Worth the wait for sure.
Yep.
That covers 80s Mania, and now I think Josh has got the updates to modern Mania Wrestling.
Oh, absolutely. All the huge stuff with 80s, we had to rival that with modern Mania. So during March, we actually snuck in, kind of like Etéreo, but we snuck in
Luxurio
to give a little lucha representation in a different way. Also goes by
Chad Lux Vane
and
CLV.
I think that we merged in a lot of interesting inspirations into one character, and I think it really made like a very cool original character for Modern Mania. Comes with 3 teams, 3 feuds. He's quite the prolific wrestler at this point. And something that we wanted to bring to, something interesting that comes with him, was that Bolt Soda sponsor. So once you unlock all the versions of CLV, you get a special sponsor in the game that is pretty good. So if you want that extra $150 every show,
Yeah. For sure. And I want to speak too quickly because Aaron had mentioned when he was talking about 80s how we've been in this kind of like luchador mode, if you will, for the past few months. And CLV obviously isn't a traditional luchador, right? He's not a masked guy, but I do feel like he was in that same, I don't know, stream of consciousness, inspiration, whatever you want to call it, mm-hmm. where he was a product of that kind of mode we've been in.
Definitely. A great cruiserweight to go on top of that, like a great guy to put in your cruiserweight division. Like for me, he's elevated that title in a way that I didn't expect. So really great addition there for Modern Mania. Coming with him too was a tag team partner. A little bit of an update. We gave Congo Kid, we gave his C alt a change to Human Highlight Reel, kind of like balancing this character out a little more, making sense of the versions a little bit better, and teaming him up with his new tag partner. And it gave him a lot more use, in my opinion, and that C alt now is quite valuable.
I'm really excited about the hype flyers. I think, Luxurio is, if I could say it, quite a human highlight reel of his own.
There you go.
And so making that shift to a Congo Kid alt that was kind of just sitting there not doing very much. Mm-hmm. So we're like, maybe you need to start jumping around and flipping and having a tag partner.
Right.
And so those guys work really well together, and just frankly, I love how they look together. That art and the coloration and everything about that I thought turned out excellent. So I was very excited to add those guys to the game.
Absolutely. It's really fun too when we're looking at the candidates for reworks, mm-hmm. and there happens to be a tag team involved. It's always kind of fun because it's a guiding light for how to redesign them. You're like, all right, let's base his costume off of his partner's costume so they look like a cohesive tag unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I can just be nerdy for a second before we move on to the rest of the characters here. Going back to the Bolt Soda sponsor, I love whenever we can introduce characters that have some unique to them element. I don't know that we've had a character in the game before where unlocking all versions of them gave you a unique sponsor.
I don't think so.
But I love when we do that things like that.
Oh, yeah.
The rules in some of the games, like the Troglos being able to appear on the same show, or Spunky Sparks and the mascots, those kind of things where it's like, this is a thing that really makes this particular character stand out, and it adds something a little special to them. I wouldn't say it's like breaking the rules per se, but it's an abnormal, unorthodox game element.
Absolutely.
So Bolt was really cool for CLV, and I was excited about that.
For sure, yeah. And it was kind of a last minute idea that we snuck into the game,
Yep.
so I was proud of that too, so.
Yeah.
Speaking of reworks, we got a couple of them, but only as a result of the biggest, I would say, March Mania of all time. Aaron kind of already talked about it, but in that finals we had Son of Samoa versus Lazer, and of course Lazer came out on top, but Son of Samoa won the modern side of the bracket, and we wanted to, inspire new releases based on that. So we got a couple of really big changes. We got Psycho and his kind of breakout as a single star. Hilariously, he's got 2 tag teams. He's a tag specialist, and neither of them are with Soro. So he's got quite the broad range of uses now.
Yeah, he's a diverse character for sure.
Lots of new friends in his life.
Yeah, some new friends. And yeah, exactly. So I'm personally very happy with the way the art turned out, and just kind of reimagining this character that maybe wasn't as utilized as we wanted him to be in those C&D alts. So just adding some depth there I think was really cool, and it kind of sets him up for the future in this game as like more of a key player.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Son of Samoa too, we decided to give him his day. All right, shave the beard, cut the hair,
right,
and push him to the moon.
Give him some knee pads.
Give him some knee pads, and now he can really cause some punishment,
sure.
and you're fed. So
to make one note about Son of Samoa is, well, first of all, it's cool to see that the players feel the same way about certain characters that we do, or that I do anyway. Son of Samoa has always felt like a bedrock of Modern to me. And so him, getting his moment here was awesome. He's also always felt like a pretty darn fully developed character, maybe except for that D alt, which, while I enjoyed the art of, he didn't necessarily, to me, feel as he had as much personality perhaps as some of the other versions.
Sure.
So for us being able to kind of add that personality to him, and then also if you pay close attention, we kept certain artistic elements from the previous design that he had. Some of the colors, some of the patterns, things like that. He didn't get a full overhaul. He just kind of modified what he already had going on to glow up a little bit. And so I really enjoyed checking out that art when it came through and seeing what I already knew, familiar but fresh, right?
Yes.
So
good point.
I don't know about you, but he always wins my battle royals. So I don't think that's going to start changing anytime soon. He comes with a new tag, a new feud, and what better time to talk about who his feud partner is than, of course, the winner of March Mania,
Lazer,
coming to Modern Mania as an icon, of course. So if you don't know, icons like Ace of Spades and President Hunk are these legacy characters that you can unlock through their other associated cards. So with Lazer, he comes with this iconic Mike Spot card that if you unlock him, flip the card over, and you spend your 3 silver coins, you can get Lazer in the game. And I don't know about you guys, but I have been getting a lot of use out of Lazer. He can only wrestle once a month as an icon, but with some workarounds, with some storytelling, it can really cause some awesome stuff to happen in the game. So one thing about Lazer that I wanted to bring up is he's actually based on an Era's character that isn't out yet.
Right. Yeah. So I was going to say, we promised when we were, promoting March Mania, we were saying, look, the winner, or not even the winner per se, but the winner and results of the tournament, right, are going to inspire not only 80s, not only modern, but eras as well. So when Lazer won it all, it was like, okay, for 80s, we've already got, the 80s Lazer and the 90s Lazer. So we looked around and we sort of, tried to get an associated character, and we landed on CC. And then when we looked at modern, it was sort of a no-brainer. It's like, all right, let's bring Lazer in as an icon. And as Josh mentioned, let's give Son of Samoa, his due.
Of course, yeah.
And for eras, that was a part of it as well, just behind the scenes. It was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and redesign what Rusty was calling Dark Lazer, which I like that, actually. He was calling him Dark Lazer. which is represented, like I said, in 80s Mania by the 90s version. But anyway, we wanted to sort of re-envision it, right? Give him a fresh coat of paint. And Rusty came back with this killer rendition of Dark Lazer. And just the way things are working now, with Era's production going on behind the scenes and Modern needing its update, it turns out that the Modern version was ready to roll before the Era's version. And we've got another awesome artist on Modern, James Deotto, who's been killing it with his stuff. And when I spoke with James, I was like, okay, look, we're bringing this iconic 80s character or 80s Mania character into Modern. But here's the deal. I'm going to send you a piece of reference art from a new unreleased game, and you're going to work off of that. So it's kind of weird, unusual circumstance. And I even had to, reach out to Rusty and said, look, you got this crazy, awesome Dark Lazer thing, but here's the deal. I'm going to promote this other artist's version of your guy. So it was tricky. And even our community was a little like, wait, who did this? Is this Rusty? Is this James? So anyway, it's all squared away. And the end result is we've got two awesome artists doing two awesome renditions of Lazer, who everybody loves, as a result of you guys voting him the winner. So it's like wins are everywhere. You know what I mean? So just kind of funny backstory there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's cool that the fan votes spawned such a cool art.
Did you say spawn?
But yeah, Rusty and James both doing fantastic work here. I know Lazer is an icon in Modern, but I'm inclined to make him my world champion if I can, even if he can only fight once a month, just on the strength of that art.
Yep.
Let me actually hop in and kind of maybe give a little foreshadowing, teaser or whatever for next Modern update here, because I'm pretty sure you'll hear this episode before the next Modern update occurs. But like, we know that the icons are a steep price, and it is intended to be that way, right? I mean, we design them as like an end game thing. It's not like you're going to fire up the game as a brand new player and start buying and unlocking all the icons. It's a steep price, and we get that. And that's kind of the point, right? We're bringing in sort of, enjoyable, popular characters from the 80s Mania game, putting them into the new game. And of course, along with that, to actually make it somewhat logical and realistic, these guys are past their prime as wrestlers. They're older guys, and they have another role. As Josh mentioned, you've got some of them doing mic spots, some of them doing skits, some act as sort of a manager trainer and whatnot. All the roles that the icons have. And our thought was like, look, they're past their prime. They're doing this other stuff. They're still an active part of your fed in all these other ways, but they can get in the ring. Let's limit them to once a month. Now, Josh mentioned there's some workarounds, right? Like you can make them a champion and they'll keep defending, if I'm not mistaken. With Lazer having the iconic endorsement mic spot, you can book that mic spot the week before the show he wrestles on, and now you've got Lazer occurring 2 times in a month, right? So there's ways to work around it. But we hear you. Lazer being such a popular one, and everyone kind of going, man, his wrestler version is just too rad. Like, I got to use it more than just once. We hear you, and we're looking at ways to try to expand the usage of an icon. Potentially maybe allowing icons to appear in different segment types during a month other than just a wrestling match. So expect maybe in the next Modern update a way to get your icons participating more than once a month, if you will. So
there you go.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up one last thing. Aaron made a great point. We love to sort of tout how the March Mania tournament is you guys, the players' opportunity to guide us on future updates. But the fact of the matter is, it's not just during March Mania where you guys are sort of, dictating the flow of what comes next in these games. We're constantly utilizing your feedback to try to make the next update satisfying. And we're going to continue to do that because, honestly, it makes our job easier, really, to kind of have a lot of people really kind of saying, this is what we'd like to see, this is what we'd like to have changed. And that just makes everything easier for us. And at the end of the day, makes a game that everyone's happier with. You guys, us. Yeah, so keep that up. Keep playing. Matter of fact, we need to get back to playing too. So enough talking. We're out of here.
Until next time, we hope you have fun playing as well. And as always,
if you're down for more mic spots,
stay tuned.
Are you a fan of Checkmate creative content? The most impactful way to show your support is by leaving our games 5-star ratings on Google Play and the App Store. That ensures we keep making more of the content you love and games you want to play. Following both 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling on Instagram, X, and Facebook is the best way to stay up to date with our latest news and character reveals. We invite you to share any and all feedback about your playing experience directly with us at support@80smaniawrestling.com or support@modernmaniawrestling.com.
This has been a Checkmate Creative production.